Hi friends, and welcome to another fun video. In this tutorial we're going to create a parametric concrete basin featured on this web page. It will have parameters for diameter, thickness, height and height for the concrete inside the basin if the user would like to fill it with concrete, and an option to turn that on and off. Alright, we have opened up a fresh metric generic model family template. This family will not contain many reference planes, only a few in the elevation view to control the height of the concrete and basin. Now we move on to the parameters. I set them up as type parameters since I imagine there will be a lot of similar concrete basins placed when first using this kind of family. I place the parameters that the user might want to change, like diameter and height, in the dimension category, and the parameters that will just function in the background and very often contain formulas I place in the other category. So I will also add a parameter with a yes/no option. This is basically a parameter that you can either turn on and off, and I will link it to the visibility of the concrete inside the basin. Just doing some quick reorganization of the parameters, placing the parameters that will most likely be used the most at the top. So we go on to add the other parameters. So this will be an inner diameter parameter and is a formula based on the diameter and the thickness. So we copy the diameter and we copy the thickness and we hit apply, and we add some numerical values for the diameter and check if the inner diameter updates. Yes, it does. So the inner diameter void is basically the same minus the thickness. We hit apply and move on to the geometry. We start with the concrete basin. We use the extrusion tool and create a diameter. Place it at the center of the two reference plane. We add a dimension line and then we connect diameter to our parameter by selecting the dimension line, navigating to the top menu and choosing the relevant parameter from the label options. We add another diameter to make the center of the basin hollow and the dimension, and we connect it to the parameter that contains a formula, the inner diameter. Take a look at it in 3D view. Looks correct so far. So next is the void to create the top edge. I again use the extrusion and create dimensions and connect them to the parameters. So the first and the second, we add the dimensions like that for both of the diameters. We connect them to the parameters and voila, we have the extrusion. Hit OK and change it to a void. Take a look at it in 3D view. It looks correct so far. I do need to constrain the void at the top. In fact, I need to constrain the concrete basin height as well. We go to an elevation view. We add dimension lines to the reference planes that I already placed out and connect them to a parameter. Change the numerical value to adjust the reference plane a little. Connect the other dimension line to a parameter. And we go ahead and change the size of the text by changing the scale of this view. This applies only in this view. And we proceed by aligning our concrete basin to the top reference planes. So I do add one more reference plane for the height of our void. This will be a dimension with a fixed distance and will be fixed regardless of the numerical values that are used in the parameters. We check the lock when the annotation line is marked. So this will not be parametric, or it will kind of be semi-parametric since it is constrained to the top reference planes, which is again parametric. We go back to the 3D view and we use the cut command to cut the concrete basin with the void we just created. So far, so good. Let's continue. The last piece of geometry in this family will be the concrete that will fill the basin, or sometimes we would like to fill it. So I will link this geometry with the yes/no parameter earlier created, which will give us the option to turn on or off the concrete if necessary. We align it to the reference planes, that is the concrete height. We mark the concrete and go to the property menu and associate the material with the structural material parameter. We do the same with the visibility parameter. So we now have the option to turn it off and on. Do the same for the actual concrete basin. Connect the material to the material parameter. So that is one beautiful geometry. A quick tip, it is possible to see all the constraints for a geometry. Just hit the little button in the option bar at the bot view. It does look a bit messy. But what we will do, hit the preview visibility and go ahead and change the parameter values to check if everything works as intended. This operation is called flexing, and I would recommend doing it regularly when developing a complex family, so you don't end up at the end with a highly advanced family that doesn't work. It's gonna be a nightmare to find the errors. So far so good, everything works perfectly. We go ahead and load it into the main project and proceed with the flexing of the family by editing the type parameters. And that concludes this tutorial. Be sure to like and subscribe for more fun videos. Thank you for watching.